Hello, lovely. We are up to day 16 of Atomic Habits, our deep dive into looking at how we can make some habits really stick. Because if we're going to make any changes in our life, then habits are generally going to have to be part of it. So we want to give ourselves the best strategies to be able to make all those habits happen. So we are now at the fourth law of Atomic Habits, according to James Clear. So the first law was about making the habit obvious, so the trigger to the habit, the cue, making that obvious. The second law was about making it attractive. The third law was about making it easy. The fourth and final law, I believe, is about making it satisfying. So what we're aiming for here is, how can we make it so that it's a pleasant enough experience or satisfying enough experience that we're likely to repeat it. So pleasure teaches our brain that a behavior is worth remembering and repeating. So an example of this is, if you think about, let's say, people need to wash their hands more. Now, if your soap smells of like burnt rubber, that's not a very kind of satisfying experience, washing your hands. But if it smells of some beautiful vanilla and jasmine or something like that, then the actual washing of the hands, even though you're not doing it because it smells nice, you're doing it because it's of all the hygienic reasons and wherever it's important, the fact that it smells luxurious is going to make that a more satisfying experience, and you're more likely to repeat it. So you can probably all think of some things that you do because the experience itself is so satisfying. And what we're looking for here is not delayed satisfaction, not one day down the road satisfaction. We're looking for immediate satisfaction. So with these habits, we're trying to think, how can I make it immediate right now in the moment? Because we're pretty useless at the delayed gratification thing. The way our brains work, we just want things to be nice for us now. So we can't kind of just rely on our good intentions because, so if I think about me going to the gym to do some weights, it's going to always be more satisfying for me to stay in bed than it is to get up and think about, but I want my bones to be strong in my 90s, right? That's brilliant if that works, but that's a very delayed reward. So we need to try and think of some things that make it more satisfying in the moment. So maybe it's a case of, while I lift the weights, I get to listen to a particular podcast that I love listening to, and I only get to do it when I'm lifting those weights. So there is something about that is actually tempting for me in the moment, or as soon as possible afterwards. So if I've done my weekly planning on a Sunday evening, planned for the week, which is always, a good thing for me to do, then I get to have a nice bubble bath. So those two things are related together, and it makes the whole thing an experience, a satisfying experience. The other way that it can be satisfying is to have some kind of like visual cues. So, for example, there's a story that he tells in the book about a sales guy who he needed to make 120 sales calls. I don't know if it was a week or a day. Maybe it was a day. And he had 120 paper clips in a jar, and then he had an empty jar. And every time he made a call, he put one of the paper clips in the other jar. And it just gave him enough of a dopamine hit that it felt satisfying, that he could see those paper clips growing. Now, obviously, the real reward is the money that you make from doing the sale. But by having that visual cue, then he was able to get some satisfaction in the moment. And that is actually called the paperclip strategy. So you can try and think about, whether you can apply that to anything that you're doing. And then over time, as the habit builds, you should hopefully not need to depend on that so much. You can depend much more on the intrinsic rewards that you're getting, the fact that you're getting fitter, that you're getting stronger, or whatever it is, or that the money's coming in from the sales. So your practical step here is basically to think about, how can you bribe yourself to do your habit? Really, that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? What is the bribe that you can offer that makes that habit a little bit satisfying in the moment? And I know sometimes that can be quite hard, because some of the habits that we want to do really are not that much fun, right? even if you think about something like cleaning your teeth, how do you make cleaning your teeth more fun? Okay, maybe if you are listening to something at the same time, or put your favorite song on and can dance around while you do it. I don't know, just something that you can do to make it satisfying in the moment. All right, so I leave you with that. See if you can come up with a plan.